RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. The answer to your question is learn the goddamn process, trade your trading plans, don't take too much risk on any one trade, and just let yourself get rich. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief. Happy Wednesday. TGIW, I guess. Not quite sure how we'd say that. It's going to be a bit of a malaise, but I would not be surprised, to be honest with you, that we just went through a pretty big wave of selling. I think a lot of the public is sort of like taking a step back going, oh my goodness, what just happened? Ironically enough, though, as I said there a second ago, I actually wouldn't be surprised if they actually take these markets right back up top, you know. And of course, that's the last thing in the world anybody's expecting here. So that would make sense. I think I've told all of you, for whatever it's worth, I don't even know how many people we have watching these videos, but the people that are regular viewers, it's a lot of fun interacting with you guys. So I'm enjoying my experience. Adam over there on YouTube, he's pretty consistent. And of course, Mr. Insights is always on the call here in the hangout with us. It's fun to interact with him. And Noure, our bodybuilder, be interesting to see how many pounds of muscle Mr. Noure has put on. There's Mr. Fanger. Mr. Fanger being a total boss futures trader this morning, us in the futures room. DMAC. I'm surprised DMAC yesterday you didn't suggest that I shut the fuck up because Stuart's on the call. And hey, there's Stoned Ape. I haven't seen you in a while. I guess we're all getting over our where was that place we went to? El Salvador. Wow, that was an adventure. But I guess you made it out in one piece, so congratulations. Chris is still trying to find reliable electricity and reliable internet. I think Chris is what's the name of the restaurant that you're reporting in from? We should all just ask him whether he's still reporting in from the cafe. Suppose I shouldn't bug him, but anyway, great to see you, Stoned Ape. Good. It off to. But anyway, I digress. So, back in the saddle. No sound, eh? Wonder what happened. Can you hear me, Chris? Did you mute me? Looks like I've got my microphone on. Mr. Insight says he can hear me, so it must be Zoom call. I don't know whether YouTube is
yeah,
not
that was
working.
me. Sorry
Maybe
about that. They requested that I report in from the restaurant that I'm at, and I had to adjust my microphone, and that took a little bit of time. So sorry, guys. Yeah, I'm reporting in from Point Break Coffee Shop here in El Salvador.
Point Break. Oh, that's kind of cool. Hey, there you go. Point Break. So they're saying now that the sound is back, and I actually scooched in, trying to be a little bit closer to the microphone. I mean, the marketing department has told me that I got to get one of these microphones where you go like this and you talk and you do the videos like this. But I don't know whether you've seen people on social media. I think that's the big thing, is that they have a big fat microphone right in their face. So there you go, Kevin. Sorry. Now that, if we could actually just make sure to blot out your face with the microphone, that would be a perfect broadcast, Brian. Anyway, I'm just being silly. All right. So what the hell's going on today? Interestingly enough, Mr. Powell is about to take the stage. I think he's speaking. Somebody had said he's speaking at Stanford's bureaucratic body, collecting six-figure, probably seven-figure salaries, and doing nothing more than just patting each other on the back about how wonderful they are. I think that's the event today. And actually, it's interesting. Ed's over there on the YouTube page. He said he'd watch from the YouTube page. We were even chatting this morning. I mean, don't get me started. I grew up in a world where the prevailing attitude was uh, central bankers should be number one, the lender of last resort. And that's their primary job. And of course, don't go and screw with the monetary system for your own ends. Of course, the politicians successfully destroyed the sort of gold basing of the monetary system, and as a result, I guess one of the gentlemen that I consider, probably one of the best central banksters, if that is possible, in history, Mr. Greenspan. He basically said, "You go down this road, and you are literally confiscating the wealth of the nation." And sure enough, that's basically what's happened. I mean, anybody go to a McDonald's and see what the price of a McDonald's burger is. That is your standard of living being destroyed on a daily basis by the banksters. And in a weird sort of way, it's like the politicians and the banksters now are just comfortably in bed together with each other. And I think it was at a time, the politicians actually did represent the people. But every time a politician that was representing the people got elected and said, enough is enough, we got to put us back on the straight and narrow, and let's quit with this stupid nonsense of the banksters sort of cult of debt spending and a monetary debt system. The banksters would literally try to murder them. You can go through history, politician after politician after politician. Some they were successful, people like Kennedy, um, uh, uh, Lincoln. Some they were able to outright corrupt. Reagan, they took a pop at Reagan, and Reagan quickly got on board with the program and was a good little bitch. They took a pop at Old Hickory, and he was the only politician in sort of the U.S. First century of life that was actually able to put the banksters back in the box. Um, it's tragic. They knocked off Lincoln, and then the guy who came in afterward, his vice president Jackson, he was just basically a complete lame duck, and they just were able to railroad right over him. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Anyway, so the point of the matter here is we live in a world now swimming in debt. There are no checks to the banksters world that we live in, which is kind of tragic. And of course, that's half the reason why we're all involved in Bitcoin. So hopefully you were able to pick up some Bitcoins over the years and you have a little bit of a hedge. I'm not even quite sure how the end of this monetary system goes, but I did hear somebody the other day talking about how this world reminds them a lot of 1919 and post World War One Germany, and how the war reparations were just basically bankrupted Germany, and then the currency just absolutely collapsed. I don't know whether there's a check on the U.S. hegemony. I get the impression that they've gotten away with this great reset. Um, at the time, there was alternatives to Germany. So, anybody who had assets in Germany was able to flee to North America, and, the United States following the First World War became the world hegemony and sort of Rothschild's puppet, with Woodrow Wilson and all that. So anyway, we live in kind of a messed up world. Who knows what the hell the end game is here? But I have to reiterate. I've heard a lot of people say, and really, I don't think anybody that listens to these videos, this is anything new to you. But if you are watching this video for the first time, you're probably maybe a little refreshing unpolitically correct bias. But it's a challenging world that we're living in here right now. That's for darn sure. I suppose in the short term, not quite sure why I went off on that little rant. So my apologies there. People are like, what the hell is this guy babbling on about? Anyway, Bitcoin obviously is your love, and what we're gonna do here on Bitcoin is probably I think the general message is we have a big fundamental event coming up here. I get the distinct impression that those people, 1%, whatever the hell you want to call them, I think that they have established a trading range here for the corn to transition through its fundamental event window. We got a lot of people, of course, coming in just uber bullish through this move up here about a month or so ago. And I don't think that that was a smart idea. Interestingly enough, I'm actually starting to see some of these social media characters actually start coming out and completely changing their tune and actually saying things like, well, you know what? Maybe it's all over. Maybe it's all done. And if that's the case, then the selling is stopped. And we'll start basing and we'll start heading higher again. I wouldn't be surprised though, like our scenario from 15-16 cycle goes something along these lines. History never repeats itself, so just get used to that. History often rhymes. It looks similar. This was as I said, the 15-16 cycle. So I do like the idea that we had this insane blow off top, massive orgy, the public just ridiculously bullish. And that in itself, unfortunately, is a potion for disaster. And then, of course, this is 15-16. We had to have a bit of a break. Then, literally, we went sideways for the better part of a month. Then we had the halving event, and then we had a dump following the halving event. It's sort of like the hangover from the party. And this was the time window from sort of when the market peaked to the halving to when the final sort of dump capitulation low was in. So that's what this study is here. As you can see, the last cycle, the Alta, that 14-15 cycle, which is what I think we're repeating here, that actually bottomed with a complete 50% retracement of the rally move. And I do like that. And I also like this number too, because we do have one gentleman who's on the site. Oh, wow, Kevin. What are you saying there over on YouTube? You're saying a bunch of stuff, but then you're quickly taking it all back. I don't know what you're saying, Kevin. If you have a question, feel free to ask. But interestingly enough, I think you can make the argument now. As I said, we have one gentleman on the site who does mine Bitcoins. His cost of production, I suppose a lot of sort of the public's cost of production, if they are participating, is around 20 some odd $1,000 right now. And once the halving event is done, does that now go to about 40,000, somewhere in that neighborhood? I don't know whether, like the actual, like the Bitcoin farms and, they have like 10,000 miners and stuff running. I don't know whether their cost of production is that high. I would debate that. But nonetheless, I could very easily see that the technical correction that happens following the halving event, if we play out the way that we did in 15-16, I mean, nothing's guaranteed in this business. But if we do, then the correction ultimately just simply does nothing more than just, what am I doing here? That should have, I wanted to fade this back into the background, but anyway. I think it should do nothing more than just bring price back down into value. So interestingly enough, from a technical perspective, and if you've been trading with me and watching these videos for a while, hopefully you've come to appreciate the value of reload zones and Brian's favorite fibs and all that kind of talk. If we start coming back down into green boxes, then we can actually make the argument that technically we're actually starting to come back down into value, from a technical perspective. So we'll see what happens. Still think we're a little bit expensive up top here. I'm encouraged at the fact that we've removed a lot of the kind of silliness of this market. Um, but at the same time, too, I don't think we are trading at value just yet. But if anything, we were talking in the lounge. Somebody had said, "Brian, are you still on that C pool thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I've been selling halves on doubles, blah blah blah." But I'm almost at the point right now where I don't want to sell anything more. I just want to leave this alone because check this out. Can I be a buyer of this asset here? No, right? This is kind of like Bitcoin at like 70 G's. Kind of foolish coming in and chasing an up market like this. But let's just zoom out. Has this thing got any room to move up at all? And I was showing this in the lounge this morning. I mean, does that have any room to move higher here over the next year or two? Considering that we have this big fundamental event, which is sort of hitting the reset button and starting the whole sort of orgy process all over again. I mean, look at this. Holy crap on a stick. They legalized pot in Germany. That's interesting because when I was there in Germany, man, they did not like pot at all. They did not. They love their booze. Don't get me wrong. The Germans love to drink, but they did not like pot at all. So you're telling me they legalized pot in Germany, eh? Son of a bitch. Guess I got to get off my ass and head. Mind you, what's kind of weird is when I went to Amsterdam, the locals, they didn't even like pot at all. They were almost embarrassed by it. And I was like, hey, let's go to the Bulldog Cafe. I think it's like the world famous place in Amsterdam where you can go get pot and smoke pot and shit. And none of the locals were even the slightest bit interested. Ah, you damn tourist. Fine. Yeah, go do your thing. So how ironic. Anyway, that's an interesting side. And this, I guess, is a little bit more free fall, free for all. I don't know. I've already done 15 minutes. I don't know. I mean, if anything, if they were going to rate the videos on a weekly basis, I don't think I did a very good job here today. I'm sorry, everyone. Anyway, having fun ranting. Let's see if in 5 minutes I can give you some value here. So US dollar here is backing off after it hit some pretty substantial bullish ABCD targets, this teal. There was this last one that's still floating out there. It gets negated if we go through this 38.2. I don't know whether we do. If we do go through this 38.2 on this, you can see Mr. ICT's market structure kind of conversation, then actually that does open the window for this thing to actually top out and counter trend rallies up to 61.8 Mountain Man levels. I'd actually be interested in shorting. So we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. I think, though, the teal was the big technical objective that was hit. And if I'm not mistaken, I even think, yeah, look at that cute little top there in RSI and actually on a divergence. Divergence in MACD. Divergence has now been confirmed. So this is now sort of solidified in the market. Willie did get officially stupidly overbought and a bit of a div there on Willie. So I think you can put all the pieces together. And I get the impression that the US dollar is probably done its face rip for the time being. We'll see how she acts against this 38.2. If we can solidify in here and then start turning back up without breaking that low, then I think, okay, the US dollar bull's still on. But I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, you see the size of that move, and we had this very powerful pivot halfway through. I wouldn't be surprised if that rally's done for now. And I am starting to hear a lot of talk about the world economy reflating itself and all that kind of stuff. So we also, of course, have the big eclipse event coming up here on the 8th, 7th or 8th or something like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is weak into this event and you actually find that things like stocks, I've kept this exact same chart. I haven't moved this at all. I would not be surprised if stocks actually push to a new high through that solar eclipse event. That would not surprise me at all. And I don't know whether Bitcoin's still got anything left in the tank, though. I will concede that. Done some serious technical damage here in the short term. I still think we're in a trading range, but if you actually zoom in on that range, we actually do have a very well-defined M top right through that reload zone. It's gonna be tough for the old corn to get through the top there. This is that short trade off of the top, sort of zoomed in. I've been looking for this big gap to the downside on the futures to be filled in, and also to hit some fog and bombs, and of course Brian's favorite fib, right? I think we're in the process of dead cat bouncing. Question ultimately is what happens when this dead cat bounce exhausts itself. Are we setting up something like inverted head and shoulders, which kind of looks like maybe, yeah. So something along those lines. I mean, it's splotchy right now, but you get the idea. Um, so I am watching for something along these lines. But interestingly enough, this trade setup just simply says, take partial profits at 2 to 1s, and then just put your stop at scratch, and let's just see what the hell happens. I might actually make the argument, all you ICT fans, I think you could make the argument that this almost looks like one of these fair value gaps, that big dump there. And of course, interestingly enough, I love, and actually, I even did the trade this morning, but I absolutely love hitting these 61.8s now, just risking against the high. So my hunch is, and also too, if you measure out this inverted head and shoulders, you can kind of see that that looks like where this thing ultimately would peter out somewhere up in that area, right? Right. Interesting, right up against that trend line. If this inverted head and shoulders does actually come in, and of course, there's good old reload zones and all that kind of fun stuff. So I'm not really in any hurry to touch this. I mean, it's a great little trade that is just sitting there working huge profits on the runner, but I'm not really in a hurry to do anything with this right now. And if it gets stopped out of scratch, so fucking what? I mean, it's just another trade. Remember, we already booked the 2 to 1, and the stop is at scratch now on the runner. This is why you do the runners. And if anything, I've told you people, and if anybody can, well, we can take a look at names in the after party. I did see somebody there ask if we could look at Cripple. Ira, can you come on the after party? Happy to look at all that kind of stuff. Okay. But I should probably just finish this, and then we should wind up this free video here. So I don't really care if this thing does rally up. Can we get back up to new highs on the corn right now? I don't know. I think, as I said, we've done some serious technical damage. I would say in the short term, we should just be thinking trading range. So that unfortunately means selling against the top end of the range, especially into previous peaks. Try and limit your risk. I think Mr. Ed would appreciate that statement. And then, buying against the bottom ends of ranges. And actually, frankly, I'm a bit surprised we didn't fill in this gap. That seems a little suspicious that gap would still be open like that. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Nothing really there for me to do. Having said that, like I said, I would not be surprised if they actually took the stock market up to new highs through the solar eclipse that's coming up here. And it might just be on something like Mr. Powell's come out and said, the data, interestingly enough, it's not really that bullish. I think the market itself is kind of like a crack whore, and it needs a fix to keep this sort of euphoric nonsense going. Did we get the justification for the Fed to lower rates here today? I don't think so. I mean, 30-year mortgage rates, all right, fine. They ticked down a little bit. I suppose that's good. Mortgage applications actually ticked down. That was a bit surprising. I suppose purchase index also ticked down a little bit. So you're not really getting anything like disastrous out of the housing market. ADP showed more jobs were created. There's no way the Fed's going to lower interest rates with that kind of backdrop. That's actually extremely bullish of the economy. And keep in mind, on Friday, we have the big jobs report coming up. Um, where's Friday? There we are. Non-farm payrolls. Dun, dun, dun. So I don't know whether I'd actually really believe a hell of a lot that you're seeing in the market until we get through that jobs report data. I think it's just a lot of fluff here. Something also too that sort of jumped out at me, which is a bit concerning here, is, oh, by the way, as we're speaking right now, look who's speaking, right? And I started off the broadcast with, he's speaking at some bureaucratic body. They all get paid tons of money for throwing around their opinions, and 9 times out of 10, their opinions are completely wrong. I mean, I'm actually surprised that a lot of these Fed people still have jobs. They got the inflation thing so bloody, completely, utterly wrong. And that woman, that's I think she's a woman, maybe she's a man, in the U.S. Treasury Department. Uh, you ever listen to Stanley Druckenmiller? He's like, she should have been fired years ago. She is like the most incompetent idiot. She completely fucked the USA, the country, with the policies that she's done here with the managing the U.S. Treasury balance sheet. I mean, she's absolutely destroyed the value of the U.S. dollar here under her tenure. And yet you don't hear anybody calling for her head. And yet she should be. She has no justification to be in that job whatsoever. Other than maybe this is all the plan of the goddamn banksters. And blah, 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 blah. So anyway, so we got a whole bunch of Fed speakers here for the rest of today. So ironically enough, when I started the trading day, actually I had a really cute little setup come in, shorting the crude. And again, this is hitting my beloved mountain man, good old Brandon. And actually, this was a really cool trade. I could teach a whole course just on this one trade because the opening range trades wanted to sucker everybody to go long. But you see that they actually set up a W prior to the pit opening, which set up a 2.618 Foggenbaum. And whenever I see this, I always see these pit traders, they reject that level hard. And you can see the opening range traders, it was only 10 ticks. It was incredibly small range. You would have had to have your order at like plus 11 ticks, plus 12 ticks. And you see they ran it up into 2.618. And when I saw that, I was like, and that's a mountain man level. And this is a ICT market structure failure break. I got to hit that fucking thing. And so that's what I did. And it turned out to be a very profitable trade. Nice day. And actually, I did this for the Top Step Combine people. So just slowly building that account up back over time. We'll see how that goes. Did do a little bit of a mistake here. Personally, I got a little bit chicken shit through the U.S. Retail Open. I did have my original order working down at this VWAP, and I missed the 2-to-1 level. And I really, hindsight's 2020. I think it's best that you just put the profit level at 2-to-1 and just live with that fill. And it would have been a nice, convenient fill. But no, Brian had to have his order down at the VWAP. And so when we went through the retail open and we started to W out, I got chicken shit. And I was like, oh, fuck, just get me the hell out of there. I got to get out of there. Just get me out of there. Get me out of there. Get me out of there. And I got out. And then what happens? The market just dumps right into my level. So, all right. So anyway, Ed's reporting that Mr. Powell is sounding dovish. It's interesting because we have been watching the ES here. And I tell you, something I'm having a lot of fun with, and thank you to the TRI group for letting me know that you can actually set the hours on your chart to the pit session. This is like what Hogue would typically watch, and this was actually the chart that I left off the day traders with this morning. I still think that they're going to take the ES up to this POC, fill in this huge gap that's been partially filled here. Remember, I said Bitcoin still has a gap to the downside on the futures. I still think that needs filling in. But I think that this has to get filled first. So I think that they rally this thing up. They're going to tag, there is good old mountain man. There is reload short zones. There's the gap. There's the POC. That's a naked POC. That would also make a really nice parabola on the profile. And then at this point, we'll find out whether this is actually really a bear or still maybe we've turned back into a bull. So that's sort of where I'm thinking for the stock market. I wouldn't be surprised if we actually still see some further up. And then remember on Friday, that's 2 days from now, basically about 48 hours, maybe about 45 hours from it, 44 hours, we got the employment report. And I think that will actually dictate where we go from here. And I might even argue what I've been sort of suggesting in the room here this morning, for whatever it's worth. We'll finish off with this, is I actually could see that they're actually setting this trade up. So they put in a double bottom this morning. Mr. ICT's market structure shift. This is a bear, lower highs and lower lows. We have to go and take this level out to actually change that market structure. Interesting, when you draw a Foggenbaum off of this W, look where 2.618 comes in. Basically a breaking of that market structure. If that happens, and you can see how they're running this thing straight up, it's remarkable how you can like literally script this stuff. So you could make the argument, actually, I don't even have to draw this. I already have it on here. We can say this looks like the bottom of the fair value gap. And I don't know whether I've got this right or not. Call this the Beamish fair value gap. I don't know. Maybe I should give it a completely different name. But what I would want to see here is we go up, we'll take out that market structure, then start chomp, 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 chomp. And that, of course, sets up that sort of market structure kind of thing. I don't know how this low is going to play into it. Maybe the market structure or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, we'll dissect it as we go forward here. Point is that if we do get that break down into Mountain Man, that actually becomes a really nice long setup for me. So I do see this pattern actually setting up a buy signal here down the road. I don't think it's today. I think that this whole pattern filling in the gap on the 30-minute ES chart, you can see this looks like a bull ABCD that's going to take us up top here, break this previous bearish structure, and then we'll start deciding whether the bull can re-exert itself. And not only do you see that in the NASDAQ, but you also see it in the ES, right? So there's the ES, same thing. Foggenbaums take us up into market structure. Interesting how this can't take us. So we'll see whether we can actually break this level or not. You can see the bull ABCDs are trying to paint a move up top here. And then, like I said, following that, we get a Mountain Man pullback into these lows, and I can actually start thinking about maybe even buying. So that's where I am right now. Not ready to get bullish on really the market, just more like range trading. And really, I think probably the absolute best thing for all of us is don't really put too much credence in what you're seeing in the market until we can get on the other side of this eclipse event window. And really, with regard to things like Bitcoin and crypto, let's get on the other side of this happening. And really, I got a funny feeling we're setting up for a really, really nice present from Brian on his birthday to all of you. We should get a nice pullback, like this C pool, for example. If I wasn't long, I would be more than happy to be working bids down here, 78.6 to 88.6 area. Hell, you might even argue that that's a market structure level. Sprinkle in some bids on this thing down here. And if you can get lucky, you might actually get some really nice gifts. And, in the after party, we can go through tons of these different names. Let's take a look at that cripple. And my hunch is a lot of these charts look almost identical. So, all right, let's leave the free broadcast at that. I talked for about a half hour. Hope you got some value out of that. Slow and steady wins a race. Don't take no wooden nickels. You know what your number one job is as a trader. Immensely pleased at our TRI day traders. A lot of fun just hanging out in that room. So the issue there, though, is I don't really like people who are uneducated to be in that room. So you're either in the education program and you're on a read-only basis and you can just watch what the professionals are doing, or you've actually taken the education program, you know what you're doing, and I feel confident that you can participate in the room without blowing yourself up. So congratulations to T TRIers. You know who you are. It's a lot of fun hanging out with you. And of course, let's have fun in the little old lady room. If anything, hopefully you banged out tons of doubles and you got a whole bunch of dry powder and you're just waiting for markets to come back down to earth. In fact, I think we're going to look at Link in earnest here today and maybe talk a little bit about if I wanted to be a buyer, where might I get buy orders working on Link right now. But we'll save that for the after party. Okay, everybody, have yourselves a great day. PMA for the win. Slow and steady wins the race. All the best. Hugs and kisses, and bye for now.